Hey everybody, welcome to the Mark Parham Podcast. You can follow me online by typing in Mark Parham Podcast, and I should pop up on Spotify, and I should pop up on Apple when you type in Mark Parham Podcast. So a lot of folks on Twitter, now it's called X, they are, so there's some folks that are saying, oh, well, why is Elon Musk talking about race issues and all this other stuff? And I'm happy he's doing it. And the reason why is because even though there's people that, say, oh, well, Elon Musk is a racist and all this other stuff. I don't think he's a racist, but you have folks that always, accuse him of, not liking black people or Asian people or Muslim, whatever. I want Elon Musk to keep talking about race issues. And here's the reason why. Sometimes have an open debate and dialogue about things. I wouldn't even say sometimes. I would say all the time. Open debate and dialogue is a good thing, even if you sometimes don't agree with a person. And so Elon Musk, yesterday, he put out a tweet where it was a podcast. It was a podcast about I think African civilization, and I know I'm probably not describing it the right way, but it was a podcast about Africa, and I listened to it. The podcast was over an hour. And I said, you know what? Let me actually listen to this podcast that Elon Musk is, this podcast he tweeted about. And I'm glad I listened to it. And I'm not saying I agree with everything that the podcaster said on his podcast, but I'm glad that Elon Musk tweeted that out, because sometimes with a lot of things in life, you're fed a mainstream narrative that is fake. And I'm not saying that, like I said, again, everything this podcaster said was true, but it was just interesting for me to see things from a different perspective, because we've been taught a lot of things when it comes to slavery, when it comes to Africa, that when you do a little research, you're like, well, wait a minute. Oh, this person was lying. And so I would just say for anybody, you want folks to be on the opposite end of arguments sometimes. Like sometimes if everyone's saying, well, you know what, this person is a racist. Sometimes you need folks to be like, well, you know what, check this out. Maybe you'll come up with a different opinion. And so I'm glad that I listened to this podcast. Like I said, I'm not saying I agree with everything that, the podcaster said about Africa, but, it gives me, things to research. And so with some of these, podcasts and things like that, I would say listen to folks that you disagree with. Sometimes take out a notebook and say, okay, well, this person talked about this country and this. Let me take out my notebook real quick and let me write down some notes. Let me, do some research. And so this is going to make me listen to some more stuff about Africa. And this is actually going to make me research some things and say, well, you know what? Okay, let me see if this is true. Or let me see what this person is talking about. And a lot of times, what people do online is somebody has an opposite opinion and people are like, you know what, don't listen to that person, censor that person. That person's wrong, that person's evil. And it's like sometimes, even if it's somebody you disagree with, sometimes listen to people you disagree with, because you can learn a lot. You're not going to learn a bunch of stuff if you're listening to folks you agree with. Like if folks are telling you, oh, well, JFK was a perfect person. Sometimes listen to that guy who says, you know what? He wasn't a perfect person. It's good to listen to both sides of the argument. And I think sometimes online, and especially, in society, we always want to censor people we don't agree with. So we'll say, oh, well, Elon Musk, all he does is talk about race and black people and he's disrespectful. No. Sometimes say, you know what? Let me see what he's talking about, or let me see what this person's talking about. Maybe they have a point when it comes to crime. Maybe they have a point when it comes to education and certain things. And so, the more you sometimes open up your ears and say, you know what, I'm going to listen to the opposite side of an argument, it makes you a more well-rounded person. And so, again, when you see some of these people online, when they're talking about different, issues on race and things like that, sometimes just do your research. Listen, do your research, and you might say, well, wait a minute, they do have a point when it comes to this. Or maybe this country, if they would have listened to these folks, maybe this country would have been, superpower or whatever. So I appreciate folks that, that think different, that are, opposite of how I would think. And I think we need more folks like that in society. I think that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump got elected. Like, people were tired of the mainstream media narratives that, oh, well, you have to believe this, or you have to think this group is racist. You have to believe that all Europeans were like this, or all Americans in the South are like that. And so, again, just open your eyes, listen to things you don't agree with, take some notes, do some research, and you might make you a better person. You might form a different opinion, because a lot of times we're taught the mainstream narratives. We're taught the mainstream things on race. Like, we're taught, oh, well, this leader did this, they were perfect. This group over here, they did this, they were. It's just like, people forget there was some white folks during those civil rights issues and things like that helped black people. There was white folks that were out there marching and doing stuff, so again, the mainstream, narratives, oh, well, those white people, they did this to black folks and this and that. And again, some did, but it wasn't everybody. And so I would just say, again, I'm rambling, but listen to things, and sometimes read books and things that you normally, wouldn't agree with. Like, sometimes sit up and say, you know what, I'm going to listen to this person, even though I disagree with them. Let me just do a little research. And you might find out some of the stuff they're saying is true. So I know I'm rambling, probably all over the place, but I'm happy that Elon Musk is talking about race on Twitter. Now it's X. And I hope he keeps on talking about race. A lot of this stuff is, before it was taboo. It was like, well, you can't talk about that because somebody's going to think that's discrimination. No, we need to have open conversations. That's the only way to push the world forward, to improve societies, to have open conversations with people, and to talk about issues that, are taboo, that folks say, you can't talk about this. So I want Elon Musk to keep talking about race. And so at first I didn't appreciate it. I'm like, well, why does he keep on talking about Africa all the time? But maybe this will, spark people to have a conversation about, some of the issues in Africa when it comes to crime and infrastructure and political leadership and all this other stuff. So in the comment section, just let me know how you feel about what I'm talking about, and hit the like button if you can. Thank you.